All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or depending on your time and your location. I'm Engineer Moses Unafi. Today, I want to discuss on the topic of hazardous area classification. I encourage viewers to watch out for the previous video with regards to hazardous area zoning for a better understanding. On this topic, we are going to determine whether there is a need to classify the area, to determine the zone and the type of ventilation, and also to determine the distance and shapes of the zone. I want you to pay attention to the above. And now, hazardous area classification. Hazardous area classification is the process of identifying the area categorized in location where flammable gas, vapor, or dust fibers are present in air in quantities that could ignite or explode. It is a critical safety measure used in industries like oil and gas, chemical processing, and manufacturers. Why do we have to do this classification? One, we have to do it because of risk mitigation to help prevent fire explosion by identifying the danger zone. Another way of the reason we have to do this is for equipment selection to ensure only certified explosive-proof equipment is used. Secondly, regulatory compliance to ensure that we align with a global standard like IEC, NEC, and ATES. Most importantly, for personnel safety to protect workers from hazardous exposure and accident. For us to do this successfully, we have to consider these two factors, which is the source and the grade of release. And the source of release is the point of location from which the flammable gas, vapor, and liquid may be released into the atmosphere in such a way that an explosive gas atmosphere could be what? Could be formed. The grade of release of this atmosphere is depending on three different criteria, depending on the frequency and the likelihood of explosion. One of it is the continuous grade, which is more than 1,000 hours in a year. Another primary grade is when the release is more than 10 but less than what? 1,000 hours in a year. The secondary grade of release is when the release is less than 10 hours in what? In a year. And I want you to understand that in this hazardous area equipment selection, there is a need for us to know what is a hazardous area equipment selection. Hazardous area equipment selection refers to the process of choosing an electrical or mechanical device that are safe to operate in an environment where flammable gas and vapor dust fibers may be present. These areas are classified as a zone based on the likelihood of duration of explosive atmosphere. Now, for us to do this, our hazardous area equipment selection, there is a criteria that we need to meet. And one of it is classification of the hazardous what? Area. Classification of the hazardous area. Assuming that we have classified an area to be hazardous, then we have to look out for the next, which is the temperature and class or ignition temperature. Now, in temperature class or ignition temperature, for us to do this, there is a need for us to understand what is ignition temperature and temperature what? Class. Ignition temperature is the lowest temperature at which a gas vapor will spontaneously ignite without a spark or flame. which we have rightly said in the former video. I want us to also understand that the temperature class is the maximum surface temperature that equipment can reach during operation. It ensures the equipment won't ignite the surrounding atmosphere. So, we have different range of atmospheric temperature. Let's take for example, assuming in your site you have let's say enter in your site, and the ignition temperature of it is 490 degrees centigrade. Then the required equipment that can be installed is T1. Knowing fully well from our table that T1 is 450 degrees centigrade for methane and hydrogen. So we have T1, and the maximum temperature is 490 degree, which is less than what? 450 degree. So when you are to install an electrical equipment or a device or a mechanical device in that environment, you have to look out for temperature of what? T1 within the range of 450 degree. And this can be found on the nameplate, just as is identified on the slide. Another example is that if you were dealing with maybe a product like maybe a carbon disulfide, which has an ignition temperature of like 95 degrees, you need T6 rated equipment, which the maximum rate is what? 85 degrees, and which stay safely without what? Ignition. So for that reason, anytime you want to do an installation in an environment, you have to watch out for a device for a temperature range of within the range of what? Of the operational temperature. Another factors that we need to consider in this hazardous equipment rating is the category of the subgroup. The category of the subgroup. And category equipment are categorized into two groups. The first group is intended for use in underground part of the mine, likely to become endangered by fire damp or a combustible dust that is underground. So now, the second group is a group intended for use in other places, like to become endangered by explosive atmosphere. This is not underground equipment. So this equipment group 2, protection. To ensure safety in a given situation, equipment group 2 is placed into a protected level number according to the manufacturer method and suitability for different situations. And now the category 1 is the highest safety level, while category 3 is the lowest safety level. So whenever you are doing an installation in your site, you have to prioritize the categories. Category 1 and category 2. So let's say, for instance, before we go for a further example, there is a need for us to understand each of these categories. Category 1 is for use in an area which explosive atmosphere are present continuously for a long period or frequently. Category 2 is for use in an area which an explosive atmosphere are likely to occur. While category 3 are for use in an area which explosive atmosphere are unlikely or occur only frequently for a short period of time. And now, we want us to look at an example. Let's take, for instance, installing an air condition in a zone 2 area where a flammable gas may be present occasionally. You must select Group 2 on Category 1 equipment. Remember that the selection of your Group 2 and Category 1 equipment is on your nameplate of the equipment, which is rightly tagged as already by the designer or the manufacturer. This to ensure the air condition is safe for use in environment where explosive atmosphere are not expected during normal operation, but could occur briefly. So I want you to understand that in every installation, you have to prioritize and check the nameplate so as for you to be able to know. And remember, in a summary, that Group 1 is an underground equipment, and Group 2 is for surface industry and in an explosive atmosphere. Remember, in summary, that Group 2 are subdivided into Category 1, Category 2, and Category 3, as the case may be. I want you to share this video so that others can gain knowledge. And I also encourage viewers to watch out for the other sections to enable us have a full understanding of this hazardous area workshop. Thank you.